It just makes me smile. The old binder's got Cowl induction. I don't know how you can't be happy about that. Welcome back to Random Rod Shop, folks. Today, hopefully, we're going to put this air filter to bed. Oh, I'm so tired of thinking about this thing. All right, so let me give you an update of where we're at and where we're going to start. So I'm going to take the camera off. So I've got this plate, all right, just 1/8 inch plate. I drilled some holes and welded in some 1032 screws. The purpose of those screws is to hold the mass airflow. It goes right there. And you can kind of see in the background, I've cobbled together what I think is going to work as the air tube. As it turns out, that bend right there is too tight for just a normal silicone bend, you know, a silicone elbow to go in there. I would need to reroute this radiator hose. And I decided I didn't want to do that, so I went back to the factory air inlet and I cut that dog knot off the bottom. It's interesting that the mold is a circle, so I've still got to plug that up. But today we're going to focus on getting this air cleaner box put on this thing once and for all. All right, so I've still got to shape this a little bit. I'm going to bolt it in there and show you where we're headed on this, but we're going to have to cut this or bend this or somewhere. So I'm going to set the camera up and kind of show you what's going on. Okay, so what I think I'd like is the lid of this air cleaner box to be level. So I'm going to grab a level and I'm going to draw a line across this thing. You know what? I don't know that I like that. I think we're going to give up on that idea, and I think we're just going to draw a line across there. Well, that will simplify everything. Let me get a straight edge. I want to make sure that thing stays inside this. You know, I think I need to put that together. I'm going to go ahead and take this out. It will be easier to stick the mass airflow and the filter back on this thing if it's out of here. I had to make some nuts. I don't know if you guys know this, but the Henry Ford on his Model T used 1032s. So when I was working on the Model T body, I had to buy a lot of 1032 nuts and different hardware. So I've got these long 1032 nuts. I just basically screwed that down all the way on this screw. Screwed it all the way down. Chucked that screw up into the drill press and then hit them with a grinder. Made them round. That gave me enough room to get these things on here and I just slotted the top of them. All right. Still using our old aftermarket filter here. It's a Spectre. Anyway, we'll get a new filter. For right now, it should work pretty well to sort of gauge what we got going on here. All right, so the intent is to build a box around this, but I think we're gonna have to use some, some CAD, some cardboard aided design to figure out what that needs to look like. Let me get this put back in there. All right, it's kind of in the way, but let's see. Yeah, you can see in the back. If you remember when I took the heater core out and I was trying to clean out this cowl, I cut this diverter out, and the purpose of this diverter was to just kind of slow the water down and let it fall out of the airstream so that it didn't run into the heater. What we're going to do is we're going to make effectively a true cowl induction. So I'm going to draw fresh air from inside that cowl into the air cleaner, and the heater, there's a fresh air vent on the kick panel. Since this thing didn't have air conditioning, there's a fresh air vent already built into the kick panel inside. So we'll have to do some modifying on the heater, but I should be able to pull fresh air for the heater again from the cowl, but it'll come down low. I think this will allow me to get cold fresh air into my engine, so I don't have to suck air from inside the engine compartment. And as we go through it, I'll show you, but I think there'll be enough pressure changes and direction changes that any water that happens to get in there will fall out of the airstream, and I'll put a hole in the bottom of the box that we build around this, so any water that gets into that box will drain out. Factory air boxes are the same way. They've got a drain hole in them. Okay, so now I think what I need to do is I need to go find me some cardboard that's big enough to set this up, because I'm still unsure. Looking at the space and everything, yeah, I don't know. I mean, a straight edge box is going to go across there. It may still turn out that I need to have an angle on this thing. We got to figure that out, because I want to get this thing put together today. Okay, we're back. It may be a it may be a Vevor sheet metal cutter, but I can tell you what, that is a whole lot nicer than the cutoff wheels. So, regardless where it's made, I'm pretty happy I got it. Let's see if it fits. Need to straighten up these sides a little bit, but we can do that if it fits. Man, this 18 gauge makes a stiff box. Oh, now that makes me happy. That's gonna work. Yep, that is gonna work. All right. Well, I think we'll get that marked out so we can figure out this box. That means I got to go find another piece of metal. All right, I think that's going to work. So, need to think about how this is going to go together. I left this a ½ inch long, so the tops will overlap, but that's not the bigger concern, because I got to put a lid on this thing, because in the end you got to be able to get the filter out. So I'm going to overlap it at the top just for positioning, but I'll end up having to cut this top out so I can make a lid for it. However, I think I need to leave a way to tab these edges, because I got to put a back on it, and this front's got to be welded to that plate I got in there. So that would probably work there, but I'm going to have to leave a little bend tab up here. As last time, just need to get this thing cut down to size that we can work with. All right, now I just need to bend over those flaps. Sorry folks, we got to switch to a voiceover. My Boya mics, battery run down on them. Never had them run down in a single day, but they did. So I've lost the audio for the next two clips. At this point, I have the box put together and it's mounted in the truck. It occurred to me that the fresh air box and the air cleaner box, because they're 45 degrees from each other, there's no easy way to connect them. So here I'm doing some paper templates to try to connect them. Now we got our paper templates, best guess. We're going to cut them out of metal and we're going to use them to connect the fresh air duct and the air filter duct. You can kind of see here where I am checking to see if the metal pieces that we just made are going to connect the two pieces like we want them to. Once I did a little bit of filing and sanding, the two pieces fit pretty well, and here you can see I've got them just tacked together. They're tacked together just enough to hold the air filter box to that fresh air inlet. So what I'm trying to figure out at this point is what's, I need to cover it and without moving it around too much. I initially thought that these were just, bent pieces, but it turns out that they move in all three planes. So it took me a little while to bend these up. I decided to just put some masking tape over it and then cut out the masking tape. I was going to use paper, but it's really tight quarters there, and it was just easier to use the masking tape. So we're going to get it masked up here and get the pattern cut out. You can see I've got the pattern cut out. I'm just transferring it to metal, and this is at this point I thought it was going to be pretty straightforward, but I can tell you it took me about 30 minutes to make each one of the plates. They move in 3 dimensions. Initially I thought they were just a nice swoop, but they're twisted and bent. And because I just barely had that thing tacked together, I didn't want to put a whole lot of force on it, so I spent all that time trying to make sure that the piece fit without me applying a whole lot of pressure to it. Okay, folks, I've got it all tacked together. There's still a lot more work to this. I can't believe how long it has taken to do this. But we got it together, and I'm anxious to see if this thing's going to fit. There's a lot of swoopy-doos and welding, and I just like to know it's going to fit. I'm going to go ahead and put the mass airflow meter in this thing. I'm not going to put the air cleaner. I've got to cut the top out of this thing and make a lid. And if I haven't said it before, it's been a long day. This bolts to the firewall, this bolts to the inner fender. I got to make a slip joint. So this back panel removes, so hopefully it won't be that big a deal. If I don't, the cab and the front end going to kind of move separately every once in a while, and it'll just shear this thing off. So we need to have a slip joint in there. Okay, let me get the mass airflow meter in here. And, I'm always saying this, is it going to fit? Well, that's because I don't know if it's going to fit. All right, let me get the mass airflow. And I'm screaming because apparently the Boya microphones that I've got, they don't last all day. I don't think I've had them things run out of juice on me, but they did today. So I'm using the camera microphone. Hopefully this is going to work out all right. I think I need to make these slots in these screws a little bigger. The screwdriver just doesn't quite want to fit in there. All right, well, I'll move the table. I'll put the camera around over there, and we'll see if this thing's going to fit. Actually, that might be a pretty good place for it. Okay, let me grab this thing. Okay. Still, there's 2 screws that hold this against firewall, but looks like they're going to line up. I'm not going to put them in because I'm going to take them back out. It just makes me smile. The old binder's got Cowl induction. I don't know how you can't be happy about that. Kind of reminds me of Mad Max. I can see the old binder smiling. Well, I appreciate you guys hanging with me. And if you're returning, I appreciate you coming back. We're almost at 500 subscribers. That's just amazing to me. But if you're not subscribed, please subscribe. Make a comment. Share it with your friends. And I think it's going to be a long night. It's Sunday afternoon and I haven't even started editing. And my young bride says that I need to go give dogs a bath. So that's what we're going to go do. We're going to give dogs a bath, and then we're going to try to start editing.